I'm so lucky and fortunate to be able to go the last couple of years because I see all these different people that I don't get to see all the time. Seeing like a Larry Robinson.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
So these Hall of Famers, it's
full of legends.
Wow. Yeah, it really was. So it's a great night.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, I've never been to the Hockey Hall of Fame induction night before, but I imagine you must just look around and be like, oh my God, like I am surrounded by
just a seeker's dream.
Yeah, it really is. And you know what the other thing is? The weekend for these guys is unbelievable because they come in on Friday and they go to the game, they get their rings. Saturday's the fan forum where the fans get to ask a lot of questions. Sunday's the Legends game. They're back on the ice and in the room with each other. And then on Monday night, you have the ultimate of actually having the induction ceremony. So it's an unbelievable weekend. The Hall of Fame does a great job with it. And Kelly Mass, I mentioned it a couple times yesterday, she sets it up for all the guys and their families and their friends. They do a terrific job.
Now, Eej, you know what I'm going to say here.
All right.
You know, you're not going to guess?
No.
I'm a speeches girl. I like speeches.
That's right.
I like speeches.
You like speeches.
Was there one in particular that really stood out for either of you that you liked?
For me, I think playing against Martin Brodeur and Martin St. Louis, I was kind of more inclined. Martin, sorry. Tough crowd.
You gotta go with the French. It's way more fun to say it that way.
I was excited to hear St. Louis just because how he talked about the former guys he played with, you know, and especially Brad Richards and Vinny Lecavalier and Stamkos. It was just meant a lot to see how much his teammates mean to him, and that's what the game's all about.
Yeah, I think for me, both of those guys, and you can see these guys getting off the bus last night, kind of a surprise. Mike Zeisberger there, NHL.com, on the scene as well. But there you see all these guys coming in, and they really surprised Marty St. Louis. He didn't know that these guys would all get there, and I think that was terrific that they could be there for Marty. It just worked out logistically with the team playing in Buffalo tonight. They were able to make the trip, so that was really great. And I liked Marty St. Louis' speech, too, because he was the ultimate underdog.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I remember and you were playing around that time. He played at Vermont, and as a scout for the Dallas Stars at the time, doing my work, the other scouts would say, you got to see this kid at Vermont, and he's so good. And I'd say, well, who owns his rights? What team? And like, well, he'll never play in the NHL. He's way too small.
Yeah, don't worry. Just go see him play college.
Go see him play college, because he's really good in college. And He played, and he played really well, and now he's in the Hall of Fame. So that was special. Yeah.
The other thing, too, and I'll say that Marty St. Louis' speech more than I mean, they were all great speeches, but his was the one that sort of, got a little misty. I got a little misty-eyed. And I think it's because, we so often forget that these guys are real people, and they have families, and they have kids that sort of support them through their career. And when he talked about his wife and his kids and how much she sacrificed for him to be able to do what he did, I thought was a really nice touch to his speech as well, because you could tell that it was genuine. Yeah. And I think for a lot of fans, you don't really think about that a lot when you're watching these guys and, ripping them or praising them for how they're playing. So
and it's a tough spot, too, to be up there. And, like, I thought Marty Brodeur, and I've been around Martin Brodeur's whole career watching him. He was nervous. You could tell he was nervous up there.
I was saying that before. I think people would be very nervous. And Brodeur also, I mean, I certainly didn't have a Hall of Fame career, but when he talked about his parents, I even myself started thinking of what my parents did for me. And it's just hearing those as a player or not even, it's really cool to hear how much the family goes into it, like you said, Jack.
Yeah, for sure. And, of course, it was a night where Gary Bettman was also inducted into the Hall of Fame. Excuse me. He's still the commissioner of the league. He's been doing it for over 2 decades. The game has grown during his tenure. It has changed, that's for sure. Here's a part of his speech from last night.
I said, thank you, but the terms of engagement were not acceptable. It had absolutely nothing to do with compensation. Actually, it was over the duration. The league was offering a relatively short-term contract, and I was looking for a longer-term commitment so that I could begin to do the things that I knew had to be done. He called back 10 minutes later, and here we are 25 years later. The term I was looking for wasn't 25 years. So let there be no doubt, tonight should erase any claim that election to the Hockey Hall of Fame is a popularity contest. Well, it's almost 26 years later, and tonight especially, and perhaps I'm an acquired taste, I guess the theys have finally learned to love me, and I am grateful for that.
I like that he got a little humor in there.
Yeah.
You need a little humor in there if you can, right?
And you know what? I've been fortunate enough to be around the commissioner throughout his tenure. And when you're around him kind of behind the scenes a little bit, He is funny. He does make some jokes. He is funny. And I think there's a lot about Gary Bettman knowing how much of a family guy he is and how much he pays attention and dotes on his grandchildren. He's brought a lot to this league over the course of a quarter century now. The business is bigger, it's better. There are more teams than there have ever been before. We're going to have another team in a couple of years. So I think it's fitting for Gary Bettman to be in the Hall of Fame. It's just he has overseen a period of tremendous growth in this sport.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that where hockey is now, when people sometimes, when the Boo Birds come out for Bettman, we said yesterday, it's almost now, it's just something to do.
It's like the trendy thing. Like, oh, he comes out, we boo him.
Because if you look at the game of hockey, it's never been better. The younger players coming up, where players are coming from, especially in the U.S., it's all happened since he became the commissioner, and it's pretty cool to see. It's also interesting to see somebody the acting current commissioner in the Hall of Fame. It's you don't see that often.
No.